Today we are going to talk about Nissim Ezekiel's poem Night of the Scorpion. Let's first look at Nissim Ezekiel. Ezekiel was an Indian Jewish poet born on 16 December 1924. Along with poetry, he was an actor, playwright. He also received the Sahitya Academy Award for his poetry collection Latter Day Psalms. Now let's move on to the poem Night of the Scorpion, which is written in free verse. Free verse which has no rhyme or regular rhythm. Published in the year 1965. I remember my mother was stung by a scorpion. These lines describes when the poet is remembering his childhood days. He remembers the night when his mother was bitten by a scorpion. Literary device is alliteration used in stung by a scorpion. 10 hours of steady rain had driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. And why was the scorpion into their house? It's because of 10 hours of heavy rainfall. It was hiding beneath. Beneath means under or below. So it was hiding under the sack of rice. Next lines. Parting with his poison flash of diabolic tale in the dark room, he risked the rain again. Rather focusing on his mother, he starts describing the scorpion, how its diabolic tail, which contains the poison, flashing into the dark room. The scorpion goes outside of their house into the rain again. Parting with his poison, diabolic tail in the dark room, risks the rain again. These lines have alliteration device. The peasants came like swarms of flies and burst the name of God 100 times to paralyze the evil one. Poet tells us that people coming to visit his mother like swarms of flies. Like is used for simile. Swarms of flies means in a huge number, and cursed in the name of God to the evil one. Evil one is used metaphorically for the scorpion. Assonance is a literary device used in the words like burst 100 times. The scorpion who bitten his mother. In India, cursing in every household is so common, we curse the one who hurts or offends us in any way. With candles and with lanterns, throwing giant scorpion shadows on the mud-baked walls. They searched for him, he was not found. The poet then explains that the villagers carrying their candles and lanterns started searching for the scorpion, throwing their own shadows on the mud-baked walls which were made of mud. They started searching for him here and there, but they couldn't find it. The literary device is assonance in the lines candles and with lanterns. Then the next lines are, they clicked their tongues with every movement that the scorpion made his poison moved in mother's blood. They said, the villagers believed that with every movement of the scorpion, the poison of will spread more into the mother's blood. So it is important to find out the scorpion as soon as possible. Mother's blood is an example of assonance again. May he sit still, they said. May the sins of your previous birth be burned away tonight, they said. The villagers started praying that may the scorpion is sitting still so they could catch him. They started interpreting that all this happened because of his mother's previous birth sins. The sins she committed in her previous birth, because according to Hinduism, if anyone commits any sin, then he or she has to suffer on their next birth. So the villagers started consoling her with their words that she has to suffer because of her previous sins. By bearing this pain, all the sins she had committed would go away. Next lines. May your suffering decrease, the misfortunes of your next birth, they said. May the sum of all evil, balanced in this unreal world, against the sum of good, become diminished by your pain. They started praying for her that her suffering may decrease the sins that she has been committing or committed in this birth. This pain bearing will balance her both bad and good deeds. Against the good deeds, bad deeds will be diminished by suffering through this pain. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition, they said. And they sat around on the floor with my mother in the center, the piece of understanding on each face. Now, they are talking among themselves that may the poison will purify her from all her sins and her body from desires, ambitions. They sat around on the floor and poet's mother in the center, understanding her pain by looking at each other's face as well as her face. Next lines. More candles, more lanterns, more neighbors, more insects, and the endless rain. My mother twisted through and through, groaning on a mat. Then more neighbors started gathering in their house with their candles and lanterns, and more they started creating a havoc in the house. But his mother is twisting and turning in pain. Groaning is a sound uttered painfully. Next lines. My father, skeptic, rationalist, trying every curse and blessing, powder, mixture, herb, and hybrid. Only his father is concerned about his mother's condition. Poet describes his father as skeptic, means he is doubtful and rational, logically solving the problem using powder, mixture, herb to cure her. Antonyms used in these lines are skeptic or rationalist and curse or blessing. He even poured a little paraffin upon the beaten toe and put a match to it. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. He poured paraffin on the affected area and then fires it up. The poet watches the flame burning on the toe of his mother. Alliteration is used in poured a little paraffin and the line flame feeding. Next lines. I watched the holy man perform his rites to tame the poison with an incantation. After 20 hours, it lost its sting. Poet calls his father a holy man, who is finding every source to cure her anyway. After 24 hours, finally his mother recovers from the poison from the scorpion sting. My mother only said, "Thank God the scorpion picked on me and spared my children." These last lines are spoken by his mother. She thanks God for picking her for the scorpion's bite and spared her children. In this condition too, she is thinking about her children. She is thanking God that the scorpion had chosen her to bite. She borne the pain on her but would not be able to bear the pain of her children. It shows that mothers will still think about her children before her last breath.